from the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
It is Draftmas Eve. That's right. The draft is tomorrow night. We can't wait to break it all down with you. But today, we head into it. Steve Atwater in studio with us. What up, Steve?
What up, fellas?
It's good to have you here, man. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. Can't wait for this draft to start on Thursday night.
Absolutely. It's going to be very exciting. And, of course, we're going to have tons of coverage here with the Denver Broncos. And we'll obviously keep us locked here on the Broncos YouTube, denverbroncos.com, all that stuff, all the social media accounts. But I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. Now, you have been saying that you'd like Micah Parsons there at 9, but let's just have an in theory conversation about what if they go quarterback? Mm-hmm. And if they go quarterback, what's the first thought that goes through your head in that moment? As it relates to this team, as it relates to the competition, as it relates to Drew Lock.
First thought is what are we doing with Drew Lock? Are we still keeping Drew Lock? Are we trying to trade Drew Lock? That would question everything. Especially if we got a quarterback there at 1, or if we saying, all right, we're going to let those guys battle it out and see who can win. Because Drew Lock, his career isn't over in the NFL. I guarantee you that. So I would imagine there's going to be a great competition in training camp. But yeah, my first thought goes to Drew Lock, and I think we would still need to add maybe a veteran. A guy who's kind of been under some pressure because we'd have a super young quarterback room. I don't know if Broncos Country wants to go into the season with, our oldest quarterback having only played, 2 years in the league.
That's the thing I have about drafting a quarterback. Is that guy even going to beat Drew Lock out? A guy who's got a year's experience in the offense. If you're burning a top 10 pick on somebody, as they're drafting right now, is that somebody that you're going to bring in knowing that they're probably not going to play in year one?
There's a good chance they won't, but you never know how guys can pick up offenses. We saw how Justin Herbert did out with the LA Chargers last year. He was able to pick up the offense, and he did extremely well in it. So you just never know. You won't know until you get the guy in the building, see what kind of vibes they have with the offense coordinator. Are they able to pick it up? Are they able to learn it from the quarterback's coach? And can they operate under pressure? It's a lot of pressure on young quarterbacks. And if a young guy can do that right out of college, kudos to him. It's possible. It's been done. Mm-hmm. It's been done before. But that's the biggest thing for me, though. Just my thought goes to Drew Lock. The rapport he's built up with the guys on the team, and it also would say something. Hey, what the coaches and what the GM, what everybody's thinking in terms of the future of the quarterback position.
But even Justin Herbert was a little bit by accident, right? Tyrod Taylor was the starter. And it wasn't because some freak accident ended up taking him off the field. Justin Herbert got all that opportunity as a result of something like that. The plan was to more or less sit him. He wouldn't have probably won Rookie of the Year if Tyrod Taylor hadn't had that accident with the needle in his lung and all that nonsense.
You never know because in practice, when guys start dropping dimes, coach is like, hey, man, we got to play this guy. I'm not sure if it wouldn't have happened at some point in the season anyway, that Justin Herbert wouldn't have replaced Tyrod Taylor.
Well, they also changed the offense for him a little bit. They went to kind of those max protect PA shot plays, for him, which is not what they were running the previous couple of years and wasn't what they were running for Tyrod Taylor. So they kind of catered the offense around him. How much of converting a quarterback to the NFL is tailoring your offense to what he does well?
Oh, I think that's a huge part of it. And I would imagine most offensive coordinators, when they have their systems, They have a plan for that. They have a plan for, hey, if we got a young guy in there who, we got to, maybe introduce it a little slower. Got to make sure we have some protection, a little simpler version. We'll do that and just ramp it up as you go along. But you still got to have a guy who has the potential or who you really feel confident that, 3-4 games in, you can have a good majority of your plays in, and you can kind of cut loose. If you got a guy who you're thinking, hey man, he can't pick this up, they may not do that.
How much do we believe Pat Shurmur is that offensive coordinator? Because last year it looked like the offense looked like it was drinking through a fire hose early. They scaled it back a little, and then it started clicking. Pat Shurmur's basically run the same offense the entire time he's been in the NFL. It hasn't really changed much. Are we convinced that he is stuck with a static offense or that he is kind of malleable for that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine, as long as he's been coaching the league, that he has a plan for developing young players and teaching them the system. But it's not just on him. It's also on the player. The player's got to put in the time, got to have that awareness to be able to pick it up. So we'll find that out. We'll find out a lot this year, I think. With the quarterback position and how did the offense perform?
I remember when we used to do the radio show, Steve, and we'd go round and round on BPA versus drafting for need. And,
I still haven't changed.
And you still probably haven't changed.
Yes.
But I think this is kind of a fascinating thing because you want a linebacker. They have 2 starting linebackers. I'm not exactly sure why you view that as a need so much as drafting for depth because
hang on a second. Hang
conversation about quarterback.
This is going to stop that right there. What position do you think we should draft?
I'm pretty wide open because you don't have a need. You should go best player available. Whoever's at the top of your board, if it's a quarterback, if it's an offensive tackle, if it's a freaking safety,
we don't have
that conversation. Draft those players
on the team.
I mean, quarterback is the one that almost everybody points to, you do have a starter in place.
That way?
I would like to draft a quarterback, yes.
Why?
Because I want to improve the room. I want to improve the competition.
That's the same way I feel about the linebacker position. We got to start it there.
Yeah.
We got to start that quarterback.
Are you comfortable with the season coming down to Josie Jewell having to cover somebody in man coverage in the red zone?
Like if I'm betting my life on it?
Yeah.
303-713, I think is the phone number. Yeah. But no, like seriously, coming back to this though, yes, you want to create competition in those places, but you don't want to reach for those players because you have a perceived need. You want to take a player that is at the top of your board. You want to stick to your board, and that's why the BPA conversation I think is so prevalent here because you are talking about linebacker, and we perceive that as a weak need, but that doesn't mean that the Broncos perceive that as a weakest link. In fact, Vic Fangio has had chances to take linebackers, and he hasn't done it. So for that argument, I think it doesn't hold any water. Sorry, Steve.
No, you can say what you want to say, but when we turn on that film and we see a position that isn't as strong as other positions, you look at the inside linebacker position. I've heard you say it.
Let's just put it to Ryan Edwards. If you had to bet your money, your life, on one of 2 scenarios, Drew Lock throwing a touchdown pass in the red zone or Josie Jewell covering a tight end in the red zone on one play, which of those are you putting your chips on?
See, somehow I feel like this is the tattoo
That's
thing
all for today, folks.
over again. The tattoo thing all over again. And the answer is no. I will not bet my life on anything or get a tattoo.
Yeah,
either one of those things.
Left cheek, right?
And I don't want to take anything away from Josie Jewell. Josie Jewell is a good inside linebacker. However, we can't upgrade that position, and he can still play a role. Yeah,
both guys have 1-year contracts. I totally understand that. When we come back, what guys might slip down the draft boards? We'll get into that next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Steve Atwater still in studio with us. Steve, one of the things that we know every single time it comes to the NFL draft is players sometimes slip in the draft. We got guys who you think are going to go high in the draft. Today, we had a Chris Sims mock come out where he has Justin Fields going 32nd overall to Tampa Bay. So just an example, you got Rashawn Slater going in like the 20s or something like that. Things like that can it's a little extreme. A little extreme.
It's not going to happen.
All right. Well, Ben begs to differ. Ben, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm begging to differ. I mean, I don't think that Justin Fields is going to slip that far. That was the biggest slip I've seen since maybe Ryan Edwards slipped starting the 40 when he was running against Steve Atwater at the combine.
But I was running backwards.
Right. Yeah. Steve was jogging backwards lightly and then roasting somebody. No, I do think that Justin Simmons is going to go lower than people think he's going to go, but I don't think that 32 is and that's what I was trying to say. Like,
you think he'll get out of the top 10?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, could see somebody try to trade up and get him there, but he could very much get out of the top 10.
But we all assume just because of what quarterbacks are, they always get overdrafted. Like that's just the overall. Like everybody says, hey, quarterbacks get overdrafted. We expect 5 could go in the top 10, but this is like this every year, Ben.
It is every year.
And I think there's only going to be 3 going in the top 10. So
whoa. So what do we think? We got Trevor. You got Wilson, and then
the quarterback that the Niners take.
McCorkle?
Maybe.
Come on.
Oh, come on now.
What?
Yeah, I know you want it to be Lance because you think Lance is the better.
I think it's going to go 1-2 Trey. I think it's going to be Trey Lance. We'll see.
Okay.
Think Trey Lance is going to be third?
I think so.
No, but the thing is, the whole slip down the draft board thing, I think, is always a fascinating conversation. Ben and I go back and forth on this because it's actually all relative. Because in a lot of people's opinions, these are all based on mocks and pre-draft conversations that happen in the media, had nothing to do with what the teams are actually doing. And Steve, I mean, I know you've seen the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've made guesses, and everybody's got their draft boards together. Going to have the draft parties. It could be 99% of the people are going to be wrong because we have no idea what's going on in the draft rooms. We're just out here speculating. And, there are going to be some surprises like there is every year. And there are going to be some disappointments, a lot of disappointments, man. Guys lined up, they're cocky. They've been drinking the tea, and it's not going to happen. And, I tell guys, hey, don't drink the tea. Just when guys tell you you're going to get drafted in the first round, assume that you're going to be in the second round and you won't be disappointed. Or third round,
I like it, yeah. But the most accurate mock drafts in the world get 13, 14 picks right usually. I think the best I've ever done was like 17, and that was a stunner. Like that was like incredibly a whole lot of mock drafts. It's best guess type stuff. You're trying to take information and apply it. Sometimes you just go from your gut. Sometimes you go from information. But even the most accurate ones get less than half of them right.
And information, what do you mean by information?
Talking to other people.
Has anyone ever lied?
No,
Why would
never in the history of the NFL has anyone lied. Nor am I capping right now.
But you know what? I guess I keep coming back to something here. I wonder how much the opt-outs and the medicals and not having a combine, how much that's actually going to factor in on some of the guys we're more recently seeing as the quote-unquote slip guys.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. If you don't, I mean, you got what, 5, 10, in this case, 10 or 11 lottery tickets and not 7, right? 10 or 11 lottery tickets. Are you going to take those lottery tickets and put all one on all of them? I mean, like.
You was going to buy one for Trey Lance. He only got one season there.
Yeah. Hey, look.
That's a lottery ticket.
I can't help that I'm bolder than some people. I think that what I'm saying is I don't think that you can roll all you can't burn your top thing on injury guys, medical things. It's a little bit different when you don't have the reps. Like you like to think you have that coaching mentality. I can coach that guy up. He doesn't have the reps. I can coach him up. But if it's medical things, like let's pick Jalen Phillips, for instance. Jalen Phillips is an all-world pass rusher. He would be number 1 in any draft as a pass rusher, but he retired once due to concussions, and those don't go away. Like he retired in college due to having like a half a dozen concussions. Those don't go away. And so not having access to the medicals to be able to clear that guy or having that red flag or that concern is going to push him down because you're not going to burn your lottery ticket on all number zeros on the Powerball. Yeah.
Are you getting a sense from teams that this is a big thing, that this year specifically?
There are a lot of guys like that. Caleb Farley, Aziz Ojulari. Ojulari has all the talent in the world, but his knees. So that's another guy that's probably going to fall down draft boards.
I think that's kind of interesting. Now, Steve, we've seen this in the past, and it becomes a bigger deal on draft night. So for you, if you were giving advice to some of these players, because you said it earlier about how, because you were a first rounder, but if you assume you're going later, then you're not going to be disappointed. So is that kind of the advice you'd probably pass along to these players?
Oh, most definitely. I remember being at the draft, was the last couple of years ago, and seeing guys who thought they were going to be first rounders, they just sat there, and then the cameras on them. People asked them thousands of questions, and the best attitude to have is, hey man, if I get drafted, anytime today or tomorrow or whenever, I'm just going to go in there and do the best I can do. Don't assume, don't let your agents, don't let all these guys pump you up and tell you you're going to be a first rounder because there's only 32 of them, and I guarantee you they tell at least 60 or 70 people they go in the first round. It's just not happening.
I was told there'd be no math. All right. When we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the draft. We're going to talk about the differences between what teams are looking for and what the fans are looking for. We'll get to that next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
One more day till the NFL draft is finally here. Steve Atwater, kind enough to stick around for another segment here. Steve, one of the things that we see every single year, and maybe social media has highlighted this, but we see this every single year. There's the fan perception on what they want their team to do, and then there is what the team actually thinks they're going to be doing and what they value at the top of the draft. And look, we talk to the fans every single day via the show, via the radio show, via the TV show. So we hear them loud and clear. They're going to be disappointed if the Broncos don't take a quarterback at the top of the draft. But in the end, what will that say, in your opinion, if the Broncos decide to pass?
Well, I mean, there are some people like that. Some people like, hey, man, I'm rolling with Drew Lock. And I've heard tons of people say that. If we don't get a quarterback, that says everything. That says, hey, we already have our quarterback in-house here. We feel comfortable with Brett Rippon. And I would imagine they may still bring in a veteran.
They've said that all along. It would be a little weird if by this point you say, I want competition, and then just don't get anybody.
Right. And then, stuff happens in the draft. Other teams draft quarterbacks, and then they have a quarterback that's expendable. So just never know what's going to happen with it. But, if they don't draft someone, we still can expect George Payton, he said it. He said it clearly. We're going to have another quarterback in here.
James Palmer even pointed out something earlier that's saying something along the lines that if the Broncos don't go quarterback at 9, they could be looking to move on one a little bit later in the draft, something we've kind of hinted at for a while now. Teddy Bridgewater is probably the most common name that comes up. And again, we go with the perception of what fans think about Teddy Bridgewater versus what the team thinks about Teddy Bridgewater. And sometimes I think you see this more than almost anybody because you interact with so many people on Twitter. Why is there such a difference or such a chasm, it seems like sometimes, between what the fan bases think and what the team does?
Fans don't know what they're looking at. I mean, at the risk of being condescending and arrogant and rude.
Which is kind of what you...
a lot of the time, they don't know what they're looking at, and it's the result over the process,
Yes.
I think that this fan base would have been upset and probably wanted the team to move on from Josh Allen if they drafted him years ago. Josh took 3 years to become what he is. He took 2 years of being terrible and then became an MVP candidate, essentially. And that continuity and getting the right pieces around him and keeping that consistent coaching kind of helped turn him into that. I don't know that Drew Lock ever reaches those heights. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Josh Allen was terrible. He
was like a 50% passer with
he was running. He wasn't doing it with passing. He was running. He was big enough for
fair.
With the run.
But that would have been a level of criticism levied against him. Was like, when is he going to develop into a real quarterback?
Right.
We had a running quarterback here. If everybody remembered back to Tim Tebow.
Yeah, he was terrible.
We could talk about Tim Tebow all day.
We
if
could
you
not
want.
talk about Tim Tebow ever again, and I'd be better for it.
Great guy.
But what I'm getting at is just like the fans often don't have the patience. They want the results now, and it's never about process for them. It's about result.
But the only thing is, many times, and this happens in every market with every team, when you look back on it,
sometimes the fans are right.
Look, the fans were right.
Sometimes the fans are right. And in fairness and deference, because I'm not always right. And sometimes the fans are always right. Sometimes the fans are. I'm not always right. One time I thought I was wrong. One time I thought I was wrong. It turned out I was mistaken.
One time.
Got him on camera.
I
love it.
No, but I mean, the fans can be right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be condescending or rude, but a lot of times they don't understand, and they have a certain mindset. The team is a certain. Sometimes the team is right. The Bills sticking with Josh Allen and giving him that time to develop, they were right on that one. Sticking with Drew Lock may or may not be the right choice, and it may or may not be what they do. But, in the end, I think fans are less patient than teams. And, oh, by the way, I think when you go to war with your buddies, when you go to war with your teammates, you're more apt to back them. Look at the players that are backing Drew Lock this offseason. You go to war with your guy, that's your guy. And so I think that's part of it, too. I think the teammates are less apt to want to give up on him because they went to war with him.
Yeah.
Is there a way, though, to bridge that gap? Is there a way for a team to have some transparency? And again, you don't want to tip your picks, but is there a way to have transparency so it feels like and I guess that's the media's role in all of this and I'm being serious here. Like it's the media's role, I guess, to be the conduit for that transparency one way or another.
Well, but hasn't George Payton been transparent about that? We like Drew Lock, but we're bringing competition. Yeah, we'll see. We like Drew Lock, but we want to make the room better. And I think that's as transparent and honest as you get. You're not hurting your guy's feelings, but you're being honest about the level of play wasn't where it needed to be.
No, I agree. He's done a great job with that. But at the same time, I think that the GMs, everybody making the decisions, would be transparent with the fans, but the only problem is they're not the only people listening.
Right.
You got 31 other teams.
You got 31 other teams out there that are like, I need to get in front of you to block you?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying tipping picks. I'm trying to find a way to bridge that gap because at least here in Broncos country, it does feel as though there's a pretty significant chasm to what the front office might be thinking right now and what the fans want. And yes, there are fans that are ride or die with Drew Lock.
What do you think a majority of the fans want?
I think they want a quarterback. I think they want better quarterback play all around.
And
they don't
think
know.
George Payton, he said that.
Yes, he did, but
I think they want one in the draft,
and
I don't think they're going to like it when and I don't think they're going to like it when they pass on one and then come in and trade for a quarterback like Bridgewater.
Yeah, so there's going to be a meltdown from a certain percentage of the fans, and maybe those are just loud fans, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they are the predominant amount of them, but that it could just be a fact that they are the ones that are the most vocal right now of wanting a quarterback. But you come back to it and say, okay, well, this chasm that exists, is that because of just the invention of social media? Is that just because people feel like they have an equal pairing and voice, or is it just basically imagination run amok?
Oh man, I don't know. There's definitely social media has a part in it, in making sure that everybody's voice is heard, and people tend to read other things, and they get more strong. Their convictions become stronger, and you have a pack of people saying something that at the start of the week they didn't even know they felt that way, and now after reading all these articles, yes, I'm with them. We need a quarterback. They weren't even thinking about that.
Thank you, Steve Atwater, for coming in the studio. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thank you for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight. Tune in to Broncos TV every weeknight at 6:30, right here on KTVD Channel 20.